Good afternoon, everyone. This is Christian with PerfectStockAlert.com, a 100% free service for smart investors and traders. All we ask in return, please refer a friend. Today is Tuesday, February the 5th, 2013. We'll be looking at the NASDAQ today. This is probably the most troubling chart that I'm monitoring right now, and the most obvious of the situation, so I like to use it. We've talked about this before, and you've got massive rallies going on here, and we were behind that rally for a while, very interested in that, until we got stopped out, and we've been watching this market ever since. So what am I looking at? What is it that I think you should know about? And that would be, of course, the way that it's rallying to the upside. And I've warned about this before. It's rare that it happens, but when it does happen, it's something you should take note of. In this particular case, you're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 massive gaps to the upside. And then in this case here, we started to fill that. We come back a couple days ago, filled part of this gap right here, but left part of it open, so it's still there. That's why it's still marked. And then we've jumped up and started rallying to the upside again today, which again creates another gap. So now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And whenever you're looking at that, you need to be concerned with it, because as I've shown in the past, every time we get those situations, they're just temporary rallies to the upside. Eventually they turn around and fill all those gaps, or the majority of those gaps. I've talked about this before, and I've shown it to you on the longer term chart. Let me show you one more real quick time, show you that, and then I'll point out something new for you guys. The most infamous situation when we've had this develop was back here. In 2007, we had a massive number of gaps to the upside, left unfilled for a period of time. We told you back during the time period, and other times since then. Whenever this happens, it is not a sustainable rally, and you will eventually turn around and start filling all of those gaps. So the rally to the upside, after you've had, in the current situation, after we've already had 7 of these massive gaps to the upside, the idea that you're going to now turn around and start buying, I think you're buying a top, and I don't recommend you do that. In fact, I'd be very, very cautious this market. Another thing to point out here is whenever you see these massive gaps like this, they typically precede a massive sell-off, and that's something that you can go back and look and find that you'll find that again and again and again. In this case, or not this case in particular, but in the case that we've seen currently, and the last one that I mentioned to you guys was both of them were actually driven by the Fed, so you're going to still have that activity going on. It's going to drive the markets higher, but eventually people are going to start to question the logic behind buying after she's rallying so far, and you will start to note that when you see pullbacks that start to take out previous lows. So in this case here, you had this move going for a while, little bitty pullback here, little bitty pullback here, little bitty pullback here, a little bit, and then you come down and you take out a previous low. When you do that, you're starting to break down. Now let's go to the current time frame. Okay, looking now at the current time frame on the NASDAQ, you can see all the same gaps in here. And you can start to track it out, which is actual highs and lows. You can see that we are trending up. That's great. Everybody's happy as long as that continues to be the case. And then all of a sudden we get up here and we take out a previous low. When you do that, you're starting to break down. You are indicating that buy pressure is now weaker than it used to be. Otherwise, you wouldn't have been able to go lower than you had before. And that's important to know. You're starting to break down there. And that's important as well, how it broke down, why it broke down. When you actually watch the news, you'll find that on this particular day, we were seeing, I didn't do a video yesterday, but if you watch any of the news that was out there, you know that it was Europe. It was the same problems that we've been kicking the can down the road for a while there in Europe, and now people are starting to question why should they even stay in the euro, and so that, of course, would bring people to the conclusion that maybe we could just step out. Well, if they do that, then eventually you start to see that implode, and then of course we follow suit. And so it's just a big game that we're playing here, where we're juicing these numbers by the Fed driving at the market price. But the reality is the fundamentals are still a problem, and they're still going to drive you lower. If you look at a lot of your major banks in the U.S., you'll see that their revenue is actually decreasing year over year, even though we're still seeing this rally since 2009. So again, I really caution you, if your economy is really getting stronger, why aren't your banks doing any better? And if they're not, then why is the market price going higher? And if they just continues to do that, you're just actually seeing or witnessing a bubble form. Now let's look at one more detail. Okay, this is the long-term chart of the NASDAQ, and you can see in this particular case, going back a couple of years, you've had a massive rally here, and then a nice massive pullback, nice rally here, nice massive pullback, and now we're doing it again here. Not as overextended from the sense of the distance from the 50-period moving average, still not very far comparative to what we've done before, and the actual distance between these 2 points here is much larger in the past, so that would be much more warrant of a pullback here. But right here, the thing that's catching my attention, not to mention this little point right here that we've talked about with past, we still have this little divergence happening here. But the main thing here is that we're basically forming a triple top at this particular point in time. So if we were to start to break down at this point, by maybe we get some news out of Europe or something like that, continuing that drama, then we would have a triple top. And in that scenario, you don't go out there and think that you're seeing a great rally or something. What you do is you look at the high points and you find, whenever you're looking at triple top, that you don't have to have them all three at the same point. They can just be relatively the same level, and then when they start to break down, you find the lowest point there, and that would be in this particular case here, and you, as soon as you see a pullback to here, breaking below that, closing below that low point, you would be confirming the triple top, and then you measure this distance out down to here, and you would start to subtract that mathematical number from the breakout point, give you an idea of how low you're going to be falling before you actually start to find some kind of support. So there's a massive sell-off potential here that is, again, something you should be aware of. And with the news and the fundamentals that we have out of Europe, I don't really see any reason to be buying at these current levels. If this is going to be a great buy opportunity, let it prove it to you instead of chasing something that's already massively overextended as well from any oscillator perspective, or all the massive gaps. Let a decent pullback come. When you get a nice hammer at the 50-period moving average, take advantage of that. But until that happens, don't chase this market higher. That's my recommendation for the markets, is just get out, stay out, and wait for a nice bullish setup or this thing to peak, and then you can get a short. Okay, for those of you guys who are not aware, if you've actually been to the website at perfectstockalert.com, you know we have an invest section here. A lot of those alerts that we've issued have made substantial gains, 20, 30%, very easy. And so that's something I want to bring to your attention. Because I'm seeing the market now as actually forming a massive top, I believe that a lot of these stocks that you have massive gains on right now in the invest section would actually go lower and end up being a better buying opportunity in the future. So that's something I want you to think about ahead of time and ask yourself, do I want to sit through that, or is it something I should advance my stop and unlock in some gains or something of that nature? I know it's invest section and it's something you do more longer term than short term, but again, I do see a massive correction forming here, and that would give a lot of opportunity to buy at deeper discount prices in the future. So that's what I want you to think about, okay? If you've not been to the free website at perfectstockalert.com, well, you never guess where it's at. It's right there. It's 100% free, and all we ask in return, please refer a friend. God bless. Take care. See you in the next one. Please take a moment to review our disclaimer. The information provided herein is our opinion only. Under no circumstances do any statements here represent a recommendation to buy or sell securities or make any kind of an investment. You are responsible for your own due diligence. To summarize, we do not provide investment advice, nor do we make any claims or promises that any information here will lead to a profit, loss, or any other result. These videos are for educational purposes only.